why should somebody work with a architect? I think that question is obvious on a new home custom design, right? But on a smaller project, you mentioned you do all size project. On a smaller project, what are the benefits of using a design professional on even a smaller project where you're like, oh, I can just do that myself. But what do you bring to the table on a small project?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a great question because on the outset it seems like, oh, well, I'm just doing a real simple, bathroom addition here, no big deal. But what an architect brings to the conversation and the design process is looking at everything holistically. So, especially on a very strategic and limited remodel or renovation addition, you have to consider your existing building systems. You have to consider how your AC is going to serve this new space, if that system needs to be upgraded, what it means to tie into existing assemblies, and you could make a what looks to be a complete solution with a sketch on a piece of paper and say, "Yep, we're good. Let's start construction." And then find out all kinds of things that an architect would already be attuned to, would know that that's coming and could address it prior to that. So you limit surprises. No one likes surprises during construction, so we do what we can to get all that ironed out, documented on paper, and priced out before any of that starts. But it's a holistic solution, and it comes from years of training. It's the degree path. It's 5 years for a bachelor of architecture, or six, 4 and 2 to get a master, and then you have 3.5 years or so of license or documented experience in various project areas, and then depending on, I had 7 exams. I think they're down to 5 or 6 now. So you're getting somebody that's been in the industry for a while, that has seen a lot of the ways that things can go sideways, or problems that, I've heard it said, we can see around corners. We know what's coming, and we know what to anticipate and how to create a holistic design solution. So even at a smaller project scale, just to have something that's comprehensive and understands exactly how we're intervening into this house, because again, a plan sketch on paper can look very straightforward, but how we tie into all the existing stuff can, you can do it well, or you can do it less well, and that really shows in
Yeah.
the finished product.
And actually, smaller projects and remodels can be harder and take more skill to design sometimes than a new freestanding structure because you're trying to figure out how that's going to tie in, interact with the existing structure. You think about things like, how do we get AC to that new area? How are all these things going to connect to each other? How do those roof lines work together? You see a lot of additions that aren't well thought through, especially when we're going in and looking at older homes. We'll see like a 1950s or 60s house with these funky roof lines that have been tied in, or these flat roofs that don't make sense or don't drain well. And it's just because someone didn't plan it well. It just kind of got slapped on there. So those types of things, especially by being able to do some of that modeling, that 3D visualization, you can see how all that stuff's going to come together, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that there's a tendency to think that that's overkill, and there are not many times where an architect is consulted for projects of smaller scope. They are challenging to be profitable on, at that scale, I think. But at the same time, that's something where by staying intentionally small as a sole practitioner, I want to be able to help people solve problems. Whether that's an accessibility upgrade, kind of for universal design, if we need to make some place that's wheelchair friendly, elevators and curbless showers, things of that nature. All the way down to um, as to your point, it gets really interesting when people want to add program to a house without changing the outside boundary of the home. So we have to reconfigure the puzzle of how all these spaces meet together, and that's one where an architect can really excel at kind of reconfiguring these pieces to work. But yeah, there are unique challenges that come along with that, especially with tight property line setbacks, and not a lot of room to grow. So yeah, somebody that can solve the puzzle in that manner, I think, is really beneficial at that scale.
And I think that also spending the money up front on good design can definitely save you money later on. If you invest the time and money before the project starts, you're not, you're possibly avoiding change orders. You're possibly avoiding, um, lost time for, hey, now we have to in the field. We have to figure out how this is going to happen later on the fly. So you're potentially saving time and money later by spending that up front.
Absolutely. Well, and ironing out all of your program as well. I mean, sometimes you get into construction, and the owner has a lifestyle change and says, "Well, I need to add an elevator." And that's a fun curveball to try to, we're already under construction, and how do we make all this stuff work? But in other cases, you may just not like the way a space feels. And we want to figure that out on paper and 3D modeling before the framing is done. That's always, one of my nightmares, is that a space gets framed up and a client walks in and says, "Oh, I didn't think it was going to feel like this."
Hmm.
And that's where the virtual reality walkthroughs, the 3D renderings, the whole design process that we go through helps to make sure that you're comfortable, confident, and excited about what's going to be built, and not saying, "Well, I need to really add an extra room over here," and that creates some real headaches for everyone involved. So,
I think too sometimes though that people when they walk into a space that's framed, they might get nervous because a a framed space that's not enclosed yet with exterior walls, drywall, it's going to feel totally different. So also you can give them some confidence at that point that yes, this space as it's framed, this feels wrong, but trust me, we've done these models, we've done this design. Once this is enclosed and built, you're going to feel differently about it too.
oh,
It,
absolutely.
it can help build some confidence for the homeowner.
Well, and that's another part of the architectural services here that we haven't really covered too much is that it's not just handing over a set of plans. It's a full relationship from the very first design review meeting all the way through project completion. And it's there to basically address those kinds of issues, to make sure that the plans are being followed, that that the clients are getting what they paid for, the life safety issues are all respected, things like that. So it's an ongoing relationship. It's always unfortunate whenever a potential client approaches me and says, "Oh, I just need a set of plans drawn," because you're really wasting an opportunity. First off, you may not find many architects that are willing to entertain that conversation, but
Right.
it's because there's so much more to it than just putting lines on paper and walking away.